Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. On today's show, Kyle speaks with Tracy Thomas, Vice President of Marketing at U.S. Premium Beef, to talk about his time at the company goals, and consumer demand. Then enjoy this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Next, Duane Toews talks with Kendal Frazier, CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, to talk about beef exports, quality, and rising demand. Then it's this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update, and we'll end with Plain Talk featuring Kyle and Duane. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
With nearly 100 years of broadcasting excellence, Ren Radio is now live on the internet playing hit songs of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Join Jack Diamond, Matt Collins, Les Glenn, Frankie C., Antonio Barber, Wings Callahan, and the real Don Steele for some of the best music ever recorded. Hear it at rendigitalmedia.com or get the Ren Oldies Radio app in Play Store or App Store. And tell Alexa, good times and great oldies on Ren Internet Radio.
I'm Scott Thellman, and this is Juniper Hill Farms. Even though my parents weren't farmers, they bought this beautiful farm north of Lawrence in 1999. In 2010, I started growing vegetables on this land. Today, Juniper Hill Farms sells produce to wholesalers, grocers, and restaurants, and is focused on growing high-quality food that everyone can afford. Watch my story and the stories of other young Kansas food producers at kansaslivingmagazine.com/meetafarmer.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Up first today, Kyle Bauer and Tracy Thomas talk about U.S. Premium Beef.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. I'm visiting with Tracy Thomas. He's Vice President of Marketing for U.S. Premium Beef. Tracy, U.S. Premium Beef, been around now for quite a while, and you've worked for the company from day one. Can you give us a bit of the history of how it came about?
Kyle, as of December 2, we will be 21 years old, and I've been around for all of about the first 6 months of the company. Several of your listeners might recall U.S. Premium Beef. We got started in the mid-1990s. A lot of motivating factors down there. Market access of finished cattle, being able to sell on a value-based market type system. Getting the carcass data back, learning what is working well and what is not working so well in your particular operation. Those were some of our main motivating factors, wrapped around with fear. Fear was getting to be very high at that point. So you had a group of producers who formed the company, ultimately bought in, and we partnered with Farmland Industries in the first few years of our life in ownership of National Beef, Slaughter and Fab in Liberal and Dodge City. And just kind of fast forward through some of the years since then, in about 04, we became an LLC. We were no longer a cooperative after that. There was a period of time when we were a majority owner of National Beef. Today, we are a 15% owner of National Beef. Besides the Slaughter and Fab facilities, there's also the Kansas City Steak Company, National Carriers, the truck line, and some further fabrication facilities in Georgia and Pennsylvania, plus the hide facility up in St. Joe, Missouri. We're selling hide products around the world. But our goal was producer ownership. That is what we felt had to make our particular program work. We work with people in Kansas, surrounding states, who are marketing their finished animals, either those that are procuring the right kind of cattle, raising them right, feeding them right, and marketing them right into a value-based market. It's almost like, let's put the shotgun away. We're now going to go hunting with a rifle with a scope on it. And by getting the data back on those finished cattle and learning what's working well for the producer, that's a pretty accurate report card that prior to U.S. Premium Beef was not impossible, but was pretty doggone difficult to obtain.
And when the producers got that report card, if you will, back, their quality continued to increase.
Absolutely. That was the whole part of the company, the whole part of what we were trying to do. So when you're getting that carcass data back and you're working with your seed stock producer, look at your dams, look at your sires, what's your forage availability? Do you calve in the spring or the fall or a combination of both? So given your production mechanism, what can we do in order to better hit that target of a value-based market? And in our program so far in 2018, if you have cattle that are grading a high percent choice, prime, certified Angus beef, we're averaging just under $50 per head premium to the cash live market right now by hitting some of those targets.
Visiting with Tracy Thomas, he's with U.S. Premium Beef. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Folks, come back after these messages for this week's Kansas Soybean Update.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
This is one of my favorite bits that I make. The name I give this bit is a derby bit. I had a roan head horse that was running through the bridle with the chain bit, and I made this bit here. It really worked good on that horse. I sent this bit to Donnie McNeese, who breaks in cattle for Jeff Smith and Ike Cox, and I said, ride this bit on a lot of horses, see how you get along with it. They did. He said, Bull, that's really a good bit. Fits a lot of horses. Then I give this bit to my good friend Brent Wright, who I make bits for, and I said, see how this bit will work on a reining horse. I call him up a couple months later. I said, Brent, how you get along with that bit? And he said, good. He said, you don't need it right this minute, do you? And I said, no. He said, good, because I'm down here in Texas and I just won a big futurity riding that bit. And when Brent got home, he gave me the buckle that he won the futurity with. I'm really proud of that buckle that Brent Wright gave it to me, and also that he got along so good with my bit.
This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Paul Burke, who serves as Senior Director of U.S. Soy Marketing with the U.S. Soybean Export Council, joins us. And Paul, so much focus, and your focus too, has been on China.
Well, what we haven't seen is exports moving at the volumes that we're traditionally used to. Normally at this time of the year, we'd be used to see, China was basically like a huge shop vac sucking soybeans out of the Gulf and out of the PNW, and that's obviously gone. But we are seeing soybeans in all other markets going at a fairly a good pace. We feel very confident that we're going to be filling up a lot of export demand that would traditionally went to Brazil. Those countries in Europe and North Asia and Southeast Asia will have to buy U.S. soy. We think at the end of the year, we're going to look back and say, okay, our exports are at the level that they were a year before, but it's just going to be a lot slower process. And if you're in the upper Midwest at where the pipeline traditionally started, you're seeing a lot of backups, and that's a problem.
In the short term or long term, how do you look at this playing out?
The U.S. soybean industry, we understand the crisis that's taking place out on the farm. And I want all farmers to know that we understand that, and we are working double time in the first year to move the export supply we have. We're going into markets where we've long had a presence, but really promoting the U.S. soy advantage. We're going to be bringing teams to the PNW, promoting the PNW as an export channel for customers that didn't traditionally buy out of the PNW. But in the long term, so moving into the next several years, we're going to be having to develop demand in markets with high populations but low soy per capita consumption. Particularly, we're talking about places like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, and that's really where a lot of our future investments are going to be going, to show those people how to consume more soy, grow more chickens, grow more fish, and then ultimately have to import more U.S. soy. In all those economies that I mentioned, as people's incomes grow up, they're going to go up. They're going to want to continue to increase their animal protein consumption. Some markets like India, they're not a pork consumer, but there's a lot of opportunities to expand egg production and expand poultry production as well as fish production. And when that economy grows, they consume their soy, and we get market access. We'll see U.S. soy exports explode into that region.
Paul Burke is joining us, Senior Director of U.S. Soy Marketing with the U.S. Soybean Export Council, is joining us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Stay with us after the break for more with Duane Toews and Kendal Frazier.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
Kim Mandarin with Hardy Insurance. I'm here to help you with all of your farm and ranch needs. When it comes to protecting your operation and your family, you need a name you can trust at a price you can afford. Call me today or visit hardyaviationins.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Daryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotating cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it, and it worked. I'm not going to go out and take trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities, and it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now we learn about beef demand around the globe with Duane Toews and Kendal Frazier.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Kendal Frazier, CEO of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Kendal, we think about the beef industry, an industry that continues to grow and prosper, and boy, what a job we've done with production this year from the cow-calf producer all the way to the feedlots across the country. This past year have been big production numbers.
We have record all-time supplies of beef, record all-time supplies of competitive proteins. That would be pork and poultry. Despite that, demand domestically for U.S. beef and internationally for U.S. beef is very strong. And our price levels this year in our industry are much higher than I think anyone ever anticipated. And that's a result of strong demand. And I think the mood of cattlemen is much better than I think anyone anticipated. coming into this year.
You reference that demand, and obviously it's a product that's in demand, and they're willing to pay for it. I think if you'd have told someone 18 months ago what the tonnage was going to be, and then we'd kept fat cattle above $1 a pound, they'd have been shocked, and we've done that and more.
And we have, and trade has been really good to us this year. We're on pace to set a record with about $8 billion worth of U.S. beef exports and hide and offal overseas. The Asian markets, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, are very strong. Mexico is a great market for it, and Canada is a great market for us. That is worth about $300 per head on the price of fed cattle, and we see the trade continuing next year, despite all the noise around some of the trade that's going on in this, and at the national level. Beef exports are really strong, and to have those buyers in the market every day competing with domestic buyers of our product is really important to our industry.
You reference there is a fair amount of rhetoric that goes on, and some geopolitical things that really don't have anything to do with the average consumer and their desire for a protein product, but it does get in the way at times.
Well, it does, and there's a lot of noise, and we've always got to remind ourselves that despite that noise, there are great opportunities if we can get access to some of these countries. And Korea is a great example of that. We basically have very little tariffs on our product going into Korea. The U.S. and Canada are the only two countries in the world that produce large volumes of high-quality beef, grain-fed beef. And we do a lot more than Canada. We produce a lot more than Canada. So we are in a very unique position. Consumer incomes around the world are rising. And when they rise, we've seen they want our product. They like it. It tastes great. It's high quality. And we've got a great future ahead of us if we can continue to have access into these markets.
You referenced the competing meats market is legitimate, and it's always something on the peripheral. It's amazing, though, as you referenced, with the total protein production in this past year, what we've done with that rising middle class has taken a bigger bite out of that.
It is, and we're moving these record supplies through the U.S. economy and around the world, and it is pretty amazing that demand is held up. But consumers like our product. We're producing more choice and prime product than we've ever done before. We've almost doubled the percent of beef that's choice and prime now, grading choice and prime. So we've got a high-quality product out there. They believe it's safe. They believe that it's nutritious and good for you. It's a nutrient-dense product. So some of those demand drivers are moving in the right direction for U.S. beef, and it's a pretty positive story right now.
Kendal, can you talk briefly about a new thing to the marketplace would be some form of synthetic or a produced product outside of the normal channels? Where do we see that moving, and is it really a competitor to the great product that we already produce?
Well, we're not afraid of those products, but we do want them to be regulated correctly. As you know, our production is regulated through the Federal Meat Inspection Act, and we believe that USDA is the right place to regulate these products. All you have to do is go into a supermarket and look at the dairy section of a supermarket, and specifically milk, to see what's happened when the Food and Drug Administration has regulated the labels and how those products are marketed. We want USDA to do that. We believe USDA has the expertise. We want a level playing field, and USDA has the expertise regarding labeling. So that's what we're working on in Washington, D.C., on these fake meat products, and we want them regulated correctly by USDA.
Our thanks to Kendal Frazier, CEO, National Cattlemen's Beef Association, joining us here on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses in rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery, and so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, after 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. and I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously. So I'm tickled to death with the results, and I'd recommend this process to anyone.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Today on our Kansas Farm Bureau update, meet the Springer family, one of 10 families honored to be named a Kansas Farm Bureau Farm Family of the Year.
Michael and Christy Springer operate their third-generation family farm in Wilson County. Michael and Christy partner in two family-owned agricultural enterprises with Michael's family, Springer Family Foods and Sycamore Valley Fertilizer. Along with their sons Mason and Cooper, they own and operate more than 5,000 acres of wheat, corn, and soybeans, and raise more than 3,000 sows from farrow to finish as a part of Springer Family Foods. Christy currently represents the 3rd District on the Women's Leadership Committee and serves on the State Centennial Project Task Force. Michael coordinates many activities through the Wilson County Farm Bureau and currently serves on KFB's Swine Advisory Board. Outside of their agricultural enterprises, the couple are members of the Neodesha United Methodist Church. Michael serves on the Wildcat Extension District Board of Directors, and both keep busy volunteering with their local 4-H club. The family believes that producers must learn to communicate with non-farm audiences about complex issues. Kansas Farm Bureau has equipped the couple with resources, skills, and training to communicate the importance of Kansas agriculture.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
Tarwater Farm and Home is a 40-year-old local family-owned business. Clothing for work and play, seeds and feeds, boots, toys for the kids, and tools you'll need for around the house and farm. And a service department to keep them in top running order. It's a big store, so take some time to see what they have for your farm and home. Tarwater's everyday pricing is like others' sale prices. When you need it, they've got it. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at kfrm.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Welcome back. Now let's see what Kyle and Duane are up to today on Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Plain Talk with Duane Allen Toews.
Mr. Bauer.
Yes.
Your question of the day. Mm-hmm. A suitor is someone who makes suits. Fact or fiction?
That's a tailor. A suitor is someone that calls on someone for a date. I'm going with fiction.
It is fiction, only because a suitor actually makes shoes.
That's a cobbler.
That's what I thought.
That's a cobbler. Where'd you get those cards?
I got them from
Dummies R Us?
No.
Yeah, don't give them a free ad. They made you buy it.
I bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. It says a suitor. S-O-U-T-E-R.
S-O-U-T-E-R.
Yeah.
I'd have just thought they misspelled it.
Or souter.
And that's, I would have never, I just got lucky, but it's still a win. Pay me, buddy.
Yeah.
Most patriotic states in the United States. Now, I'll just flat tell you, Kansas and Oklahoma, we're 14 and 15, Nebraska 17. So it doesn't make a lot of difference where you're, out here, we're right there together. But my question to you is, what are the things that they measure in order to determine what the most patriotic states are? By the way, the very most patriotic state is Virginia, and Alaska's number 2.
Really?
Now, that might help you a little bit.
Virginia?
Alaska.
And Alaska.
And I'll give you number 3, Wyoming. So I don't know Now
I don't really equate any three
exactly
with those three.
It's certainly
I was
not a
going to
geography
go
thing.
with enlistment in armed services.
That is actually, yes, absolutely. Highest average number of military enlistees, number one category. I tell you are much sharper than you look. What else you think?
Thanks.
Okay.
Flag sales? I don't know.
That's not a bad one. It's not here, though. Now, I thought this was odd. Most volunteer rate. Just volunteering at places. They consider that
that's
patriotic.
service-minded. I don't know that I would call it patriotic.
How about the people who voted in the presidential election? They called that a measure of patriotism. It's like, okay. Won't argue with that.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Most veterans per capita.
Which kind of back to...
Yeah, except that it would measure over a longer period of time.
Right.
And also, the veterans would have stayed in the state. You can enlist, and then once you see the world, you never come back there again. So it's the veterans. And then the other one that I would scratch my head a little bit, most Peace Corps volunteers.
Really?
Do they still have the Peace Corps?
Actually,
Now, I could see international volunteering. I could see mission. Well, mission isn't. That's a church.
That's not.
So it's.
But I don't see Peace Corps. I mean, that's.
You don't see that as being patriotic?
No, not really. Don't they go out of country?
I think so. I think they do. So I don't know.
If they're out of country, that's not really doing anything.
This is a great time
for the country.
To talk about this is that, you know what? Just because you read the headline.
Doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, and you might ought to read the details behind it and determine whether that guy writing that article is
really knows if his thoughts and ideas line up with yours.
And if they don't line up with yours, he's obviously wrong.
So I Googled suitor. I love technology. Scottish, Northern English word. It's a noun for a shoemaker. So we might call him a cobbler in the United States.
Yeah, or possibly in Germany or someone like that.
However, if you're Scottish or Northern English, evidently a suitor, S-O-O-D-E-R is the pronunciation guide if you were curious.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com. As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.